Research and Consulting Department at ERA Realty. Welcome to Realty Talk. Today's topic is about making sense of the latest population statistics. Now, what is this population statistics? It is just released recently on the based on the Singapore population census. Right? You might have seen this news that was published just last week. There's a lot of interesting numbers inside there telling us about what's happening with ourselves around Singapore. Okay. Now, well, the first thing is that the Singapore population has grown. The population census is taken once every 10 years. So the last one was done in 2020, and the one before that, 2010. And over this 10 years period, the Singapore population has increased from 5.08 million people to almost 5.7 million people now. Okay, the number of resident population, which consists of Singapore citizens and PR, permanent residents, has increased from 3.77 million to 4.04 million. And the rest are non-resident population. And if we look at this chart, you can see that it has actually grown. The growth is actually quite gradual over the last 10 years. And what's interesting is that there's a growing gap between the red line and blue line. The red line is the total population, and then the residents population is the blue line, which means that the numbers of non-residents population has increased. And these are people like, for example, the some of the working professionals here, on employment pass, work permit, domestic helpers, foreign workers. These are the people that's helping us to move our economy along. Their numbers are growing. Okay, and so now another interesting thing is the marriage and fertility rate. Right, the percentage of people who are married actually decreased over the last 10 years from 59.4% 11 years ago to 58.8% just last year. And although you can see that the proportion of singles, you expect that the number of singles will increase, right? But the proportion of singles seems to have decreased from 32.2% to 31.5%. And that is because singles are defined as those who are age 15 and older. And I'll show you later, because Singaporeans are having fewer babies. And so those teenagers, there are also fewer of them. Now, another thing is that we also see that the people are, I'll show you a bit later, that because people are living longer, so the people who are widowed, who outlive their partners, has also increased from 5.1% to 5.3%. And also there are also proportionately more people who are ending their marriages or separated, growing from 3.3% to 3.4% of the resident population. And I think you've been keeping up with the news, you constantly hear that Singaporeans are having fewer babies. Actually, to replace our population, the natural rate is about, each couple should be having 2.1 babies on average. And what we see is that over the 10 years period, most couples will be having babies at about in their 30s. That proportion has decreased from 1.49% in 2010 to 1.4% just last year. But the thing is, of course, majority of them still have 2 or more children, about 62.5%. Okay. Another interesting thing is that Singaporeans are living longer. Okay. In 2010, the average life expectancy is about 81.7 years, and it has increased to 83.9 years. So because of better lifestyle, better health care, and better diet, well, we are living longer. And I'm not sure whether this is surprising to some people, is that women are living longer than men. They're outliving their partners. On average, women are living up to 86.1 years, while men's life expectancy is 81.5 years. So women are outliving men by almost 4.5 years. Well, some people might say it's because the wife at home nag a bit too much, and the men get nagged to death. That's just a joke, huh? So another thing is because of the lower birth rate and longer life expectancy, we see that there is also a growing population. So 10 years ago, out of every 100 people, you have 13.5 people who are age 65 and older. And that number has increased to 23.4% of elderly person per 100 residents people. So when you have a gradual growing population, people living longer, another thing that is that the household size is gradually decreasing. So people, because they're having fewer children, so the household size is decreasing. There is a slight increase in 2020, but the overall trend over the last 20 years is that household sizes are still decreasing from 3.7 person per household to currently about 3.3% per household. And you put all that together mathematically, of course, the number of resident household will increase. So what does this mean to, I think for people who are interested to be involved in the real estate industry is that, yes, there will be a growing demand for real estate. We'll see a bit later what type of real estate. So we see population is growing and you have smaller household sizes. So the number of resident household is increasing. Another interesting thing from the population census is that we are Singaporeans and PRs are getting more educated. So we have a more educated population. All right. 10 years ago, in 2010, we have about 34.5% of the resident population who has below secondary education, and that has fallen. Now, at the other end of the spectrum, people who have university degrees has increased from 23.7% to 33%. So almost 1 out of every 3 resident population have a university degree. And that increase in education is actually more notable among the female population. If you see that people who are age 25 to 35 in year 2020, the percentage of people, male who have university degree is the same as that in female. In fact, if you look at just define higher education as post-secondary education, there is slightly more, 90.2%, okay, of the females have post-secondary education, while for male is at 90.0. So there are more smarter women out there, and well, one day they'll take over the world. The other interesting thing is that there are increase in the number of couples who actually have dual qualification and they are working. That means because of the type of lifestyle and also people who want to maintain their standard of living, both husband and wives, there are more and more people who both husband and wives have to work. Now, here we see that there is an increase, both husband and wife employed has increased from 47.1% in 2010 to 52.5% just last year. But because we also have more retirees, we also see that where both husband and wife are not employed has also increased by 1 percentage point from 14.5% to by about 0.7 percentage point to 15.2%. Has household income increased then? Well, the broad answer is yes, depending on which segments we're looking at. Now, the more lower income, the percentage of households who belong to the low income group has actually fallen over the last 10 years. And you can see from those that is earning below $3,000 or $5,000, the percentage has fallen. But at the other end of the scale, those who are earning $9,000, household who are earning $9,000 and more are gradually increasing. Okay, the most notable increase is those household that are earning $20,000 a month or more. It has increased from 6.6% to almost double to 13.9% over the 10 years period. But then again, because of the growing aging population, we also see that there are some who are not employed, has also increased, but this could also partly due to the pandemic. There are also people who have lost their jobs. The median household income has actually increased by 1.9% per year over the, 1.9% in real terms. That means after you net off inflation over the period. The median household income from work in 2010 was $5,600 per month to $7,744 in 2020. And the household that actually has enjoyed one of the highest household income is actually those who are of Indian households. They are among the three main ethnic groups. They have the highest household income of $8,500 per month. But the household that actually, the ethnicity that actually has the highest rate of growth in terms of household income from work per household member is actually the Chinese household, where they have grown by 2.9% to $26.03 per month. Okay, so if we look at the average household income from work, including CPF, over the last 20 years, it has been an upward trend. Occasionally, there might be a drop, like for example, in 2009, where there was a global financial crisis. And again, last year, in 2020, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, there is a slight drop in the household income. But on the whole, we can see that every time when there's a drop, the year after that, it will recover. So, well, since this is ERA is a real estate company, also we'll be moving on to real estate. What is the most popular type of housing in Singapore? And if you guess that it is a HDB 4-room flat, you are correct. HDB 4-room flats remain as the most popular housing. It's also one of the most commonly found type of housing here. Now, a HDB 4-room flats has, of course, 3 bedrooms and with living room and kitchen. And that is why it actually meets the needs, housing needs of most families because of the size, and it's also more affordable compared to some of the larger flats and all the private property. But so what we see here is about almost 1 in 3, 31.6% of the resident population live in HDB 4-room flats, while for private property, 16% live in condominiums or other apartments, what we call non-landed housing. For landed housing, houses that comes with the land, 5% of the population live in that. And then we have the rest of the other types of housing. Okay, one interesting thing that the population census has revealed is that there is a growing percentage of resident population who are living in condominium. Okay. They have, in 2010, about 11.5%. 11.5% of the people live in condominiums or apartments. And in 2020, that number has increased to 16%. While for HDB flats, people who live in HDB, by and large, is about 8 out of 10 people. In 2010, 82.4% of the resident population live in HDB flats. And in 2020, that number has declined below 80%. So it's 78.7%. That's represented by that red column there. And for landed housing, it has remained roughly fairly stable, but shrunk a bit, okay? 11 years ago, it was 5.7% of the population live in landed housing, and that number, the percentage has dropped to 5%. Just last year, partly because as the population increased, but the number of landed housing unit has not really increased as fast. So there are fewer landed housing units going around to be shared among the whole population. As a result, we see a lower percentage of people living in landed housing. So The other thing is, how do people get around? And we find that the more workers, more people are using public transportation to get to work. And of course, another thing is that over the last 10 years, we also see that there is more development, more MRT lines are being built, completed, or currently under construction, and also the bus services that connects people from their homes to the MRT station, of course, from MRT station to their place of work. And as a result, public transportation become more efficient and also more commonly accessible. One more interesting thing is that where are the places that where you find most number of people are working, and the downtown core or the CBD is the overall champion. About 284,000 people are found to be employed there, making up about 12.9% of the resident population who are employed. This very big long column here. And second, coming in second is Queenstown. And that is actually the Queenstown planning area, which means One North Business Park falls into there. And the third one is Geylang, a planning area, which actually Paya Lebar Central falls into this location. Right, so these are the three most popular area for Bukit Merah. Well, around the Bukit Merah area, there is also the Maple Tree Business City. That is also another big area of where there are many companies located there. So what does all this mean to home buyers and investors and those who are involved in the real estate industry? Number one is there's Singapore population is aging, we're living longer life, and then but this is not just this is in a way a very fortunate thing to happen, of course, to have a longer life. And it's not just unique to Singapore. It's happening in a lot of the developed nations. And another thing is that there is also smaller households, more singles and people outliving their partners. And this phenomenon is actually can be found in many other cities as well, Taipei, Seoul, Bangkok, even China. China also recently completed their population census, and they also found, or they find that in the next 10, 20 years, they will also be, in fact, they're currently going to face the issue of also aging population. You know, they can have 4 grandparents looking after 1 grandchild. And as a result, the Chinese government has relaxed their household policies and actually encourage people to have 3 children or more if they can afford it, of course. And that is actually something that Singapore government has encouraged about almost 10 years ago. But of course, it comes with mixed responses from that. Now, aging population, longer lifespans, smaller, that means that in the next 10, 20 years, we could see that the growing number of retirees might actually so-called right-size their homes. So they may sell their existing homes, some of them, and they may want to move into smaller homes. So there might be a demand for roughly about 2 bedrooms kind of housing units. The other thing, smaller household sizes, more singles, okay? There are some people who are, because they may choose not to get married, or they may be looking for the right partner, taking more time to find the right partner, while in the meantime, they concentrate on their careers, on themselves. And so there might also be demand for smaller size units. I'm not talking about shoebox units and so on, because if you put yourself, if you want to, even if you want to live alone, there might sometimes be friends coming over, or you might want to have 2 bedrooms, right? One for 2-bedroom unit, one to use as a bedroom, the other one to use as a study. After all, working from home will continue even after, for some industry, for some people, working from home may continue even after the pandemic is controlled. So you may also want to have another room, a spare room, either to use as a guest room or as a study. So 2-bedroom unit could become more prevalent. And another thing is that I think for people who are in the insurance industry or some other industry, this aging population could also be a segment of that they can offer their services, like for example, legacy planning and such. Another one is that the population is growing, but so is the housing supply. I know that I've attended some property seminar some time ago, and that time the white paper came up about Singapore could be having 6.9 million people, and the speaker who's could be a property agent was very excited and saying that, wow, you know, your property price will sure go up because population is going to grow and so on. But come on, this is Singapore. This is not Hong Kong. If the population grow, the Singapore government is will be likely to also offer more housing units. So it will match that population growth. So yes, property prices, by and large, if you have steady economic growth and a stable political and legal system, yes, it can grow. But we are not going to see the situation of Hong Kong where we have housing shortages. Another one is that we have a more educated population, which means that for people who are for property agents or people who serve this more educated population, you also have to upskill. You also have to improve your skill to match your customers. Now, I have given property talks or seminars, and very often when I come there, I often respect my audience. I always consider that I'm not the smartest person in the room. There are people among the audience who know more things than me, who have more experience than me, and I have to. Perhaps I can even learn some things from them. It's not that I'm I'm the guru and I know everything. So this is often the case, you know, Chinese saying 三个臭皮匠胜过一个诸葛亮. So you see, you might think that you're the smartest person, but the combined wisdom of a few other people can actually outmatch even the smartest person. Okay. And the other thing is from the population census is that there are greater use of public transportation, which means that choosing a property, a home that is near to public transportation will actually benefit you if you are thinking of renting out that property. A few major job centers, okay, around the CBD being the biggest one, and One North is number 2, and Palembang is number 3. So these are areas where there could be scope for growing demand for properties among both for owner-occupiers as well as those who are going to be investors to rent out to tenants in these locations. Okay, with that, I come to the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.